Welcome to Neighborhood Narratives, our initiative where we spotlight local authors from South Florida and the stories that are shaping our community.
Meet Jenn Lauren, the author of Butterfly in the Rain, a deeply intimate and personal reflection exploring themes of PTSD, healing, heartbreak, love, and overall transformation. So thank you, Jenn, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. So to begin, who's Jenn Lauren to your readers? And what inspired you to write Butterfly in the Rain?
So I would say to my readers, Jenn Lauren is a pen name. My name is Jennifer Lauren, but growing up, my mom told me that she had intended to name my middle name to be Lorraine. It means the queen in French. And she only calls me that unless she's mad at me. She calls me Jennifer.
The whole government.
The whole government. So to my readers, I would say Jenn Lauren is where I get to be my full self. I started that name actually in a sense when I was working at my 9-to-5 and I didn't want my coworkers to find me on the internet. So it was like an easy way to be my full self, but also kind of stealth. And I would say definitely that's where creativity reigns and I'm able to just be my full self, be my bookish, emotional, tender, dark, sometimes self, and give people permission to be the same way.
I love that. So what inspired you to write your story, your poetry book?
So actually it was accidental. I was in a writing retreat and it was virtual, and my mentor at the time asked me, I told her I wanted to start a blog and share my poetry there. And she's like, Jennifer, what is the point of a business? And I was like, for success? And she's like, it's to make money, and a blog doesn't make money. And so I started thinking about how can I make money with my writing, and I didn't even think I had enough poetry for a book. And so I first gave myself the opportunity to chronicle everything first in a Word document and see if I had enough for a book, and then it came to be that I did. And as I was chronicling everything, I realized that there was a theme emerging from it. And at first I never thought I would share my poetry in this kind of format because I've been writing since I was 11 years old and it's always been deeply personal. And if I'm out and about and feeling something, I will just write it down to get back to being social. So you'll notice that in a lot of the writing, it seems very personal and private, which at first I didn't think people would relate to. But men, women, old, young have been able to resonate with my work in some capacity, which has been really refreshing.
And may I just add, Butterfly in the Rain, it's such a beautiful work in the midst of the pain that's conveyed through it, throughout the collection. And we're going to ask this later, but essentially I want to know where your emotions are stemming from. How do you want it to be perceived to readers? You can answer that now or later.
I can answer it now. So I would say where it comes from. I grew up in my early childhood was very volatile, and I am the eldest daughter of 5, and I just wanted a place to be able to just feel throughout the chaos, because there was the 5 of us, but then there was also my mom's the matriarch of the family, so we always had people over the house, and it was always at least 10 of us at a time, and I was always the one in charge. And so there was no sense of privacy, and so I couldn't keep a journal or a diary. And so I decided to write poetry because that way if someone found it, I could say I had creative license and I just made it up. And so a lot of that emotionality comes from just the things that have went unsaid within my household. There's a lot going on, but we're not allowed to talk about it, or what happens in the house stays in the house. And I was told that I would dwell on things, and so not having anywhere to turn, I would just write instead and just channel my emotions that way.
And we also noticed that in the book, every poem has a timestamp.
Yes.
which is really unique. And then others have titles, but not every work has a title. Can you give us a little insight as to why you made the decision to timestamp it and why some poems had titles versus others?
So the dating came from when I started writing poetry when I was 11 years old. Like I said, I wanted to have a journal, but I
technically couldn't.
And also because experiencing trauma early in life, I later learned that what I was experiencing in the sense that I couldn't feel time, that it felt like time just kept moving and I couldn't remember certain things. So I decided to date things so I can remember time and feel it, whereas before that I didn't. And then the decision not to title some things and not other things later in life. Actually, on my 19th birthday, a friend of mine knew that I was into poetry because I used to watch Def Poetry Jam. I don't know if you guys remember that. So I was obsessed with it. And so there was an open mic when I was 19 called The Stage. Actually, this year makes 20 years since they started in West Palm. I think they're having a reunion, which would be amazing. So I actually, in 2007, my friend took me there. And from there, I was hooked. I didn't realize how meaningful that open mic would be. I started going every week after they took me there. And the poets were really impressive, and I really challenged myself when I was there by writing during and after, and sometimes I was inspired by the title would come first, and then other times I felt like starting with the title or wanting to have the perfect title blocked me from writing. So in the sense I stuck with the dating overall. So if a title came, sure. If it didn't, okay as well.
I want to add to that. There are some poems where at the end, because it begins with the date and the time, but some poems will have 10 minutes. Or is that you indicating to the reader that this took me 10 minutes to get out, or what is the intentionality behind that?
So the intentionality was for me, again, most of the time of me writing this book, except for some of the poems at the end, I had no idea that it would see the light of day besides the open mics that I would go to. And so again, having complex PTSD, there's a lot of memory loss. And so just for myself, I would write that down to see how long it took me to process an emotion or a feeling.
I love that as a way to parse through our emotions. Because poetry, every time we have an interview, it always comes out that writing is a sort of healing and meditative process. And I think that's a good message to convey to everyone who may find that I'm not really into writing, or I don't want people to see it. Start it for yourself before showing it out.
And to say like, yeah, I did this in 10 minutes. Like, that's impressive. And I think that also like, and I'm sure you can, elaborate, maybe like it gave you a sense of like confidence, because I know it would for me. I'm not the best with words, but to have that archive of I'm able to write in such a beautiful way in 10 minutes, that's an amazing thing to document.
Yeah, I was definitely, it did give me a sense of confidence unexpectedly, especially after publishing the book. And then now I'm thinking about it, and maybe I'm skipping ahead, but now when I do live poetry pop-ups, I write poems for people on the spot on a vintage typewriter within 3 to 10 minutes. And Please Stranger, just a word, a phrase, or a theme, and I didn't realize how flexy that was.
That is super impressive.
On a typewriter, no less.
Do you feel like, and maybe we can get into this later, but do you feel like in those moments where you're like speaking with a stranger and creating this art, do you feel like you're channeling something? Because it feels very mystical.
Yes, I do. Yes, it's extremely cathartic, and I've only been doing it now for 6 months, but I did want to come back to being a creative publicly with some type of innovation. I'm very into copying myself and my only competition is myself and bringing newness to whatever I do. And especially because it's been taking long for me to write my second book. But I was like, I want to connect with people. I want to put my creativity out there. How can I do it in a new and fresh way? And so I didn't expect for it to feel, I didn't expect to be able to write the things in 10 minutes. That was like something I started to share with people after doing it for 4 months, because I realized I would do it pretty fast. And then it also eerily felt like when I first started writing and sharing it with my friends in middle school, we're on the bus, my friend's telling me about some guy that she likes who doesn't like her back, and the next day I wrote a poem about it and I give it to her and she's like, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. So these moments when I'm sitting with strangers and talking to them about their life events, they're telling me about how resonant it is, even though I don't have a lot of detail. It just feels like full circle.
So, going back to the structure or how you format the book. So there are 4 parts that follows through the transformation of a butterfly: hatching, caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly. And as I was reading it, cocoon particularly resonated to me. It's more into your lore, to who is Jenn in this collection, and bigger societal issues or topics. So that's sort of versus earlier in the egg hatching stage, the love back and forth between you, or who Jenn is in this book, and Roy. So I wanted to see or ask you, which section do you feel like you resonated with more and now in this stage of your life?
I would definitely say the caterpillar and the butterfly stage. And the reason why I decided to do it in these parts is because as I was putting things in chronological order, I realized that I had encapsulated my growth as a young woman. And I was actually exiting a relationship as I was completing it. My partner at the time is the one who designed the cover. He was able to get the idea from a sketch that I wrote on a sticky note. And the butterfly portion is like the butterfly within me as a young woman. My grandmother had passed away and I kept seeing these butterflies as I was like completing things, and I just felt like she was there with me. And also that I was growing into my womanhood. I definitely resonate with that as well, because I was being more honest in a way that I didn't expect to, especially because at that point in the book, I had already realized that I was publishing this for public consumption. So I was challenging myself to write through things that were scary, because I was going through a really transitional time at that time.
And then you're talking about during the period of your grandmother's passing and seeing butterflies and symbols of butterflies is about moving through another, I guess, realm in life. That's why a lot of people see butterflies when family members pass. Because my mom passed away, a year ago, and at her funeral when we were leaving, it was like a butterfly leading us out the cemetery where we were driving. And so every time I see it as a message. And so I definitely agree. I think that's something I wouldn't deny, regardless of what anybody's belief is. Things are too metaphysical and coincidental, or too many things occur for it to be coincidental, in my opinion.
I feel that. Butterflies, a lot of nature, like butterflies, birds, I think convey that as well. I think for me, especially the last poem, where you talk about, to me, it was kind of like a call to pursue your dreams. You have a line in there where it says, this is not an exact quote, something about like the walking undead. There are people out there who, what's the word I'm looking for? Not fully stepping into their potential.
You're alive but not living.
And that really resonated with me, especially when you talk about publishing the book for public consumption. That's a scary step. You need to open up in that way and let the world in. So can you, I guess, tell us a little bit more about the process that you took to physically publish this work? Any mental work that you had to do, or any logistics that you wish somebody would have told you while you were going through that process?
Definitely, I would say I'm really glad that I was able to self-publish. While it was, I'm not gonna sit and say that it's easy, because I did most of it without much help besides the graphic designer that I worked with. I had someone edit it, but even then, the editing back and forth, that was like pretty expensive for me at that time. I forget how much I paid, maybe like $500 or something like that. And I was working my 9 to 5 while also working on this. And between shifts, on lunch breaks, before work, I would put everything in the document, edit it. But even when I had the editor, after I was like done formatting things, I would say, I don't know what their nationality was or their background, but there are certain things as a Black woman, colloquialisms that we have, the way that we speak, and intentional ways that I've written my words to flow a certain way that they don't necessarily understand. So that was a little bit frustrating at the time. So this time around, I definitely would connect with an editor that's from a similar background. I didn't realize that that was important at that time. I took some of her notes, not all of her notes, but that's definitely one thing. The other thing is cost. Also, now I'm having a little bit of a hard time finding and being curious about the cover, because I love this one so much. It's a lot to live up to.
A lot of our customers are drawn to that cover.
The imagery.
So I think the visual is everything. Clearly, the way that I'm dressed, it's a statement. It's a way that you can communicate without communicating. So that's another thing. And yes, it's not easy. It took a couple months. Luckily, I had most of the works done already, and I foolishly thought I would be able to publish something years later, and it's not like the work will come when it's ready to come.
You got life to live.
You do have to live life. That's another thing that I wish I had known at that time.
Now we have this. And would you be willing to read for us in the audience a selection from your work?
Your favorite.
Yes, your favorite.
I'll read you the one that I wrote specifically about the book. It's like a love letter to the book, because I felt very just out of sorts. I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. But something I say all the time is that poetry has been my golden ticket to creativity. It's brought me so many really great opportunities before I published this, after. It really just opened me up to just being my full self. So it doesn't have a title, but it was written March 2nd, 2017 at 10:30 a.m. I miss you, but I haven't even held you yet. You've grown beautifully. You're curious about the world beyond the walls of what I have taught. You want to go places I've never been. You beg, say only good can come from it. For us to share the experience of newness. Hearts will be gloriously stretched by adventure. Will the world be as kind, considerate, and patient as I have? Will they make you question yourself since they don't understand your brilliance? Will you be easily influenced, eager to change, to fit into society's frame of perfection? I guess I'm afraid of how you'll react encountering rejection. There's nothing I can do to ease the sting. I wonder about the places you'll find yourself, the people you'll meet, the conversations you'll have, and the impressions you'll leave. I wonder if, through your exploration, you'll find peace. I can't wait to hear the stories you'll tell, the emotions you felt. Hope you are proud of where you are from. You are what has been made from love and lessons, what was created once I let go of expectation. I've been fearful of you leaping and ultimately falling. I only ever wanted to see you fly.
I love that. I can just see it's like a book flying, like a letter flying through the wind.
Yeah, I'm like so scared, but it really worked out in some of the stories. You just wanted me to read one, right?
If you want to read another, you can.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to read the one that you said that you liked, because I haven't.
I think it's the
very last one.
March 31st, 2017, 10:15 a.m. There's nothing romantic about suffering. Who said poetry is the same as fairy tales? Curiosity killed the cat and the little girl who wondered what Langston could be getting at. Yes, she pondered, what happened to a dream deferred? She unknowingly embarked on a lifelong hunt to solve this riddle. Later, Lorraine demonstrated the cause and effect of a raisin in the sun. Still, the little girl never imagined that perhaps she could become one of them, or that art could imitate life. How eerie it was to wake up and realize she'd be writing the same poem, the same story. It isn't beautiful to be unfulfilled. Swallowing potential can eat away at a person's insides. You've seen the undead walking among you. Although spirit is housed in these rented bodies, the magic it possesses was not meant to be contained. I'm writing a story, not new, but all my own, a tale of the darkness, death, and rebirth the caterpillar endures in the cocoon, from ordinary to butterfly destiny. Those who come after me will know that life ain't no crystal stair. This journey has no map, no manual. No one can walk this path for you. There are few that share the flowers that beg for permission to bloom from their tired heads. This is my experiment to see what happens when I gift this earth my precious sunflowers and daisies. Every moment I've lived grew them into something flawed and beautiful. I am as proud as anyone who has ever lived could ever be. Free.
Yes.
Oh, that was so nice. I haven't heard that in so long.
Yes, I think that like encapsulates what you said. Like this was an outlet for you to like truly step into yourself, into what you love to do.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
It's sending poem for a reason.
Yeah.
I needed to read that because like that's where I'm at currently. Sometimes when you do put yourself out there, societal standards and expectations can kind of cause you to regress.
Yes.
And go back to being the undead and a zombie and, you know, what I'll call my normie years where I wasn't working on anything creatively and I was just in the grind day to day for like 3 years straight. To come back to, you know, of being facing artists and realizing that like some people don't have the luxury, me being one of them, to live life without some type of creative outlet and some type of creative offering. It actually nourishes me and makes me a better person. I think about a line by Toni Morrison. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it's from the book Sula. And she just talks about how when someone who doesn't have a creative outlet can become dangerous to themselves and others. And so, yeah, I'm really glad I read that because I really needed to hear that because it's not a linear path.
And I feel like the alignment alone, you know what I mean? Like it really like this is like the universe is holding you as you like are.
It'll keep reminding you back to the moment you did rediscover or discovered that this is where you're supposed to be. And like you say, we forget, we regress. Yeah,
because even the small copies you gave us, like your book was the first to sell out at our pop-ups, you know? So, and you know, doing open mics and doing like the typewriting poetry, how well you got received at the Unmuted event, like it's just, it's amazing to see other people who are like also aligned and being held in alignment, you know?
It's a good company with you all.
Thank you. Because this is what we want. This is what our path is. You know, we're in it as well with full-time jobs. But really, that's just, not to say just to pay the bills, because there are some aspects of it, speaking for myself, community. But really, doing this, Embargo, allows us to be creative, because we are creatives, but, and also help the community at the same time. Which we don't get in the grind. I'm just thinking how exhausting it is to do. But going back to you, so you already kind of touched on this, but what's next?
So I'm currently poetry pop-ups. I write poetry on this for strangers. at different events and art walks. Been amazing. I started doing that back in November of last year. The reason being because I realized, again, like I said, that I can't be normal and not have some type of creative outlet. So that was one, but also I lost 5 friends within the last 24 months. And a good portion of them were from my creative ecosystem in West Palm, and some of them, triggered their lives and had untreated mental health. And it has the push for me to decide to continue and allow them to be a part of what pushes me, because people, especially when younger, meeting those people when I was 19, 20, 21, people think it's just a phase, and I just happens when you let that portion of you go. And the good thing, returning back to being a front-facing creative and having a public offering, is that I see not only that it gives to me spiritually, but also is a way to help push social justice with the Unmuted event. Also connect people to themselves and give them some type of solace. I've written for people who, are experiencing grief, experiencing chronic illness, and coming to terms with that. So that's a way that I'm just going to continue doing that at different places, different bookstores. I would say one of my constants is going to be soul streams, and then my offerings to encapsulate ways to allow to help people, resonate with their day and understand it as art that I see words as. And that's having the different on them that I'm creating with resin art, and also offering keychains and bag charms, like I said, with collage and quotes associated. I would say be on the lookout for that at the art walks and things that I'm popping up at. And then I'm thinking in the fall I will start offering creative writing workshops, because like you said, a big part of my poetry has been cathartic for me, and I want to be able to share that practice with other people to have for themselves.
Find a copy of Butterfly through our bookshop, as well as you have a website that you can plug in your social media.
Okay. Yes. So social media, Jenn Lauren. It's JENNLAREINE, and my website is jlastudios.info. JLA Studios is pretty much encapsulates myself, my art, my words, and my facilitating for workshops and events. That's where you can find everything. I try to keep my calendar pop-up updated, so if you're ever wondering where I'm going to be, you can check that. And I do also offer bespoke full-length poetry, because at my pops I offer on the spot 4x6 poems, but you can actually order a custom poem that's 8x10 and not written in 10 minutes, specific to you or whoever you want to gift it to.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much, Jenn, for sitting down with us and sharing your story.
Follow Jenn, follow the authors that we interview, and get to know, the people in the backyard who are creatives and who have stories that you can relate to.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.